Welcome to A Moment with Vivacious. Today we have with us Dr. Donna Ulrici, and we're going to talk about the mind of America. Good morning, Dr. Ulrici. How are you today?
Good, good.
Okay, I want you to introduce yourself. Can you introduce yourself to
Okay.
America?
Okay. Yes. I am Donna Ulrici, a clinical psychologist. I got my PhD from Georgia State University, and my undergraduate was from Georgia and child development, and my master's was from Tufts in child studies. So I have a developmental background with a clinical doctorate, and I have been in private practice in Atlanta for over 30 years. Presently, I see families, couples, and individuals, some adolescents, and then individuals up to seniors, many seniors, and that I've been in practice a long time. And many of my clients come back to me after things are better, and then things come up. So I have a wide age range. I also do some part-time work at Georgia Regional, where I'm on the developmental disability unit, and work to oversee these individuals who are on psychiatric medication.
Doc, we need you now more than ever. My nursing career take me in different areas, and right now I'm working in mental health, but I always felt like we missed the revolution. We missed the evolution of our consciousness in America. Mm-hmm. America is consciously dead about right now. They're just consciously dead. So we want to bring the conscience alive again. We want to save America. We don't want to go down like this. And the part about we want to save America, I have something for them. It's going to be the people.
Yeah.
If the people are going to save America.
It's going to be the people.
Politics right now is like really off to me. It's not Democrat and Republican. It's Democrat against Republican, and Republican against Democrat. I don't want to sound prejudiced, but we've lost. We've lost so much. So we want to bring it back. And one of the biggest problems that I see right now in society. We're going to talk about society, and we'll come later to the mental health care part of it all. But I want to talk about the discord that's going on in society. Any conversation at any time can be a big argument, and missing the discussion just because people don't agree. And there's groups in society that, if you think that, we're gonna discard you. We're gonna, what I want to say. We're going to war against you. Yeah.
There's a shutdown.
We have to shut you down and move you out because you don't believe what we believe. And what has, and I just want to say this also, I thought the church had so much to do with the development of the people.
Coming together.
And the socialization of the people. And we're missing that. Church, and I guess COVID did a lot of that, but we have moved the importance of church because of discord on if we're going to believe this or believe that. Can we talk about that for a minute?
Yes, let's talk discord. And just as you were talking, Vivacious, I thought and mentioned, I don't want to get too much off COVID, but I do think that what we went through in the pandemic intensified what was going on with separatism, because people were separate from each other, locked down, and then focusing on information that they were in agreement with, but limited with interacting with others. So I do think it kind of intensified this discord. And as we're coming out of it, people are coming out kind of in their corners, so to speak. And it's,
if I could mention a little bit about that, and our kids were stuck inside with computers and internet.
Right.
And now that COVID is over, they don't want to come out from the internet.
Right.
And
The
from their
screens,
computers, their phones,
their screens.
and they're
yes.
meeting a lot of dangerous things that's really destroying the life. We
Yes.
really need to talk about this. America needs to understand where should we move, Doc? How can we handle this to make it better?
Well, I think the consciousness that you talked about is real important. That we need to become aware of how we know in psychology principles of conflict resolution, principles of how we interact with people and with differences, and how we can respectfully disagree and come to compromises and conclusions. There's ways that we know to do that, but we don't see that happening, and we see kind of all the things that we're not supposed to do. That's prevalent. When I work with couples, I have a handout I like to give them, and it starts with, conflict is a normal part of a relationship. You can't live without conflict. People are going to see things differently, even in families, in churches, in institutions. That's just the nature of our perception. We're going to see things differently. But how you respond to this conflict can make all the difference. And one of the things we know is that we need to deal with things one at a time. We need to talk about one issue. We need to maybe make a request of what we would like different, and maybe you could even explain, maybe I want it different because, and kind of voice a complaint because this and this and this causes these problems. And then when that happens, very often people respond by being defensive or either coming back with their position and trying to convince the other person that we don't want to do this change, or we don't want to do this. And then there's the back and forth. And if you go below the line, what happens is people start doing things like they start name calling, they start character assassination, they start hyperbole, sensationalizing it, making it dramatic, extreme. If we don't do this, our kid's going to fail out of school. If we don't make this change, they're just, no telling, catastrophizing, and then people get off track, and the problem doesn't get resolved.
And we've come to a very sad point that we can't ever wake up in the morning almost and find out that somebody's been shot to death over a simple incident. Every now and then you would hear a murder, somebody got murdered in a robbery.
Right.
We're just, I think this subject is really bigger than us right now. People are dying because they don't know how to communicate. How do we get such a thing? I know we work hard as we work in mental health, but how do we get such a thing, such the control over our society?
All right, it's interesting that idea of, yes, there'll be a simple conflict, and then it ends up being shot, people getting shot or stabbed, or the response, and now that's and you know this from working in mental health, that's a complex issue. But I do think there's a general social discord of extremism. This conflict may not have been that bad. Maybe someone took an extra dollar from somebody. That making things, some of the superlatives we use when we describe situations. This is dangerous. This is unprecedented. This is disastrous. We use really severe descriptions sometimes to describe things that really aren't unprecedented. They probably happened, what's new under the universe, they used to say. We've had these problems.
The news, I think I have PTSD from the news. Some people say you have to stop watching it. You have to stop watching it. But how do you know what's going on? But the going on now is not the same going on that previously existed.
Right.
Like we used to fight. We always fought.
Right. Like I said, conflict
you get out
was
in the
always
club,
with-
everybody's drinking, but we didn't shoot each other up.
up. Like it's like everything's so extreme that you go take it to the nth degree, versus, he was rude to me. I didn't like that. So he was rude to you. That's not nice, but we can survive it. We don't have to retaliate at that intensity. But I do think that there's this sense of injustice and severity of the problems. Mm-hmm. And I do think they have gotten more severe, but part of the reason they've gotten more severe is because we just keep fighting about them rather than resolving them. The problems just keep doubling down, it seems like, and then the efforts to make a resolution, to make an improvement. And then what often happens is what we call better becomes the enemy of good. There's something that somebody wants to make better, but it's not a total change, so we'll just throw it out. It's not good. Instead of, well, this is an improvement, let's make it better. It may not be perfect, but at least we're improving things. And it does seem like there's stands of, it's got to be this way or it's got to be that way, instead of a little give and take.
We have to bring this together and make one.
And we both may have to compromise. Maybe we can just make some improvements and move on.
And I think some of the, I want to talk about some of the improvements that we think we do. I'm going to use homes. Okay. It all starts in the family.
Yes.
If we're going to do any of this, we have to start in the home. Like I always put on Facebook, always. Can we have dinner together again?
Yeah.
I took my grandkids out to dinner and had to take the phone. Literally, I had to move quickly on my granddaughter and snatch the phone from her. So I have, and she's sitting up there like, what am I going to do now?
Right.
Literally, I said, you're going to talk to me. We're going to talk. I had to create that atmosphere. Mm-hmm. Moms used to be home taking care of their kids. We don't want to do that anymore. Or even if we had a job, it's centered around taking care of our kids. I know that was years ago. That was way a long time, probably when I was growing up. But moms, to survive, and dads, because we don't talk about dads that have to do it by themselves. They're out. But more than that, I want to talk about the abuse, which the stress of parenthood, and now it's the increase in mental health that's affecting the abuse to kids. But making a law, I always say that the law can't change people's hearts.
Right.
It's parents are afraid to correct their children. If you talk to them like, God forbid, good thing they didn't hear me talking to my child, because I would have probably been in jail. You get it up now. Like parents are afraid to talk to their children. You're verbally abusing him. You're physically abusing him. Honey, if I caught many whippings. Really, I didn't catch that many whippings, but I caught whippings.
Yeah, that was.
I'm still here.
Right.
Different children need different forms of correction. Some children you may never have to spank, but parents don't do anything anymore. They're afraid to talk to them. They're on the phone raising them, and the increase of children's mental health, I think, has increased tremendously. The problems we're having with children because our social discord. And we're trying to protect them when actually we've taken their raising away. We don't get to raise our children anymore. how in the world could we think about this stuff?
Well,
I know this might be a difficult.
It's complex, but I do see it's very interesting in the past. I'd say the past 4 or 5 years. What I have seen is a difference in conflict in the family, especially with couples. I see them that model of pathologizing, name calling, and attacking each other in versus trying to solve their differences is so common. The clients come in and say, my husband's a narcissist. I don't know how I can live with him. I said, well, what is he doing that bothers you? Why don't we talk about what he's doing that bothers you? You know, maybe, you know, and she's totally self-absorbed and selfish. I mean, name calling and pathologizing behaviors that people just don't like is not been healthy for our culture, and I do think it's been modeled for us in the media, and then of course the constant you know, the Facebooks or the postings and the back and forth with the postings.
Yes.
And that need for attention and validation versus trying to understand. And one of the things I think we need to work on is discourse with children and with couples is I want to understand what's bothering you and why it's bothering you. And really get sensitive to that. And I want you to understand what's bothering me and why it's bothering me. And then what are we going to do about it? And the same with our children. Why are you hitting? What's bothering you? One of the things that John Gottman talks about is he did studies of long-term successful marriages and also approaches to children. And he said, when our children are doing something that bothers us, we want to say to them, and like if they hit, we want to say, stop hitting, time out, I told you not to hit. But first, he says, we need to go and say, you seem very upset. Why did you hit your brother? Well, and listen to where they're coming from and empathize with how they're feeling. And then go on to correct their behavior. But hitting isn't the solution. Here, you're going to need to do time out. You're going to need to do that. And I'm talking to your brother about what he did. So that empathy development, the empathy for those
so
who
what do we
oppose. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes. But what do we do in a situation when the brother did nothing but disagree? I want your toy right now.
Yeah.
I'm going way low at a younger age, but in any situation,
It could be older.
I want this, but no, I'm not finished with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a fight.
Right. So what you need to let the child know is that yes, your brother shouldn't have snatched your toy. You were right to be concerned about that. And next time that happens, let's see what you can do. You can come get me. You can ask him to return it, but you can tell me or who's ever watching you, and we will make sure you get your toy back. But hitting is not helping, and I've told you that, so there are going to be consequences for that. But you would have need to have set those up before,
right.
Consequences, and so that they understood. But teaching solutions as well as providing consequences for your kids, but including that empathy part. Whether your teenager who snuck out, why did you snuck out? This was a chance. I know you really crazy about that guy.
And it's really scary to me because on our sneak out days, it was safe. We knew we were coming back home, but now you sneak out, we don't even know if you're gonna make it back to us.
I know
It's so scary because there's no boundaries.
Yes.
There's no boundaries
Yeah.
in our society.
Yeah.
So in the case of that's why that internet really scares me. I really wish there was a if we could make a community time out every day.
Every day. A
You only
community.
get this much time. Or that would be so wonderful to me. But I'll stop dreaming for a moment and get back to the reality of things. That how do we talk to our children? My granddaughter always said, "Oh, Nana, you just so negative. You always think somebody's trying to get us." But what she don't realize is somebody is out there and they would love to have your beautiful little self.
Yeah.
You know, the first time I saw the tattoo of the angel with the sex symbol on it, that just went through my heart. And they don't know that it's out there every minute for them. So sneaking out, even being called out by your friends could be dangerous. And I don't want to get into that because that goes into a whole nother sex trafficking thing. But how do we protect these hard-headed children? You know, I understand because we used to sneak out. You know? So I understand sneaking out. So what they're doing is what we teenagers always did. But the situation that they're doing it in is different.
I think we have to, again, look, I mean, we need to let them know as much as clear as we can that this is really dangerous. And as bad, I mean, maybe point out some incidents. But all that being said, we want to ask them, why did you sneak out? Well, so-and-so was having a party, and I really wanted to be there, and I wanted to, okay, if you want to have a party, let's plan a party. Let's plan a party at our house. You can have parties. You can be with your friends. We got to find safe ways for you to do this.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Finding safe ways for them to connect, and you come, and I'm going to be checking too.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm going to be checking.
Yeah. You know if they turn that little app off,
right.
and I can't see where you are.
Right. Yeah.
That you somewhere you don't want me to know that you
yes.
are.
Exactly. I'm going to be checking, so know that, and you will get in trouble if you sneak out again. But in the meantime, I appreciate that I want you to spend time with your friends. Let's find some good ways you can do that. And some parent, maybe you can plan a party, maybe somebody that they could plan it with their group of friends. They could plan to all go do something fun and say, I'm going to support you in this, but if you sneak out, no, then we're not, So again, trying to be empathetic to their needs, but keep them in a safe manner. And I think that kind of gets back to that empathy, that emotional empathy that I think is so important. And we could do it on a global sense in our country. We need to get back to caring about our fellow Americans, not just the Americans that believe what we believe, but believing that our fellow Americans are good people. We all, a lot of times, want the same changes. We just see different ways to get there. And connect with people, respect people, and there are probably a few bad apples. There just are. There always have been. There have been a few sociopaths. There have been people that are corrupt, that are, that happens. But half of America and the other, they aren't divided into camps, those bad apples.
Yes.
They're sprinkled through.
Yes.
And if we could start to really, again, have empathy, like to our spouses, to our children, not accepting their wrong behavior, but trying to listen and connect with the things that are important to them and valuable to them. And unless, now you may have your child that it's valuable to them to use drugs, and you can empathize that they want to feel better, but you have to put, you have to say, I can't, there are things you can't support.
Right, and that will destroy you.
Yes. and will destroy you, and it's my job to make sure this doesn't happen. And then, you know, there are some extreme situations, but we don't want to make, for instance, like you were saying, sneaking out an extreme situation, because that has been kind of what we call a developmental problem, an age developmental problem. Like kids sometimes bite, you know, and so we have, it's a problem, but it's kind of an age appropriate problem, or age synonymous a problem. And we don't want to catastrophize things that aren't catastrophized. At the same time, we have to.
I want to say this, that really don't have anything to do with anything, but I think it's very important at this time that just a public announcement. Marijuana is not what it used to be.
Yeah.
We have so many people that's smoking weed. I remember my mom, before she died, and she died when I was a young girl, well, I don't remember, because she didn't say it to me, she said it to my sister. I smoked grass. At the time, I didn't know what grass was. So grass has been around a long time, but the things that's happening to it is destructive to life.
Yeah.
So we have to be very, very careful. And unfortunately, I know children who like it, or adults who like it, is gonna do it, and I tell them it's not good. You keep ending up back here, it's destroying you. But let me tell you this: when you get a dealer, keep the same dealer. Don't go get your weed from somebody else. Only get your weed from that same person. It's safe. It's safe, and you know if something happened, he didn't deliberately do it, and you need to warn him for everybody else, or he or she. But I think that's very important for us to say.
With all different stuff.
Yes, and
yes, and that's
why. And then the synthetic weed, or the fake weed you could buy at the smoke shop. It's really, really dangerous. We have found so many children coming in psychotic. Just totally, yes.
Whoa, interesting.
Yeah.
And of course we hadn't been able to follow that, because you know with LSD, people would get psychotic, and then they would get LSD-induced schizophrenia because their brains couldn't correct from it.
Yes.
So the long-term effects of those, that's scary. It is.
It's not good.
Right.
It's not good.
Because we don't know. It's out there, and really, we don't know too the extent of long-term use of marijuana, and the quantity of it. Like with alcohol, you know, we know moderation, and then some people have different reactions to it, and you know, some people can drink moderately, others can't. I mean, we've had years and years to study how alcohol affects people, whereas we haven't had those years with marijuana.
Yeah. Well, while we're talking, Doc, maybe we can talk about, since we brought this subject up, the increase of mental health in our society. It is like, and the severity, the acuity.
Yes.
I want to say words that the audience could understand, but the acuity is so increased.
And also the numbers. I mean, the increased people coming in with depression and anxiety. I would say I think anxiety is probably the number one presenting thing, and then depression. Yes. And for teenagers, I think it's probably depression.
Yes.
Adults, it's more anxiety.
I've never seen so many kids that come in and say, I want to kill myself. And seriously trying to kill themselves.
Right.
And it's so hard. I mean, you know, we never had to, what we mean when we say I have to watch our language, because I don't want people to misunderstand it. But when a person come in just totally physically out of it, we have to bring them under control. We have to restrain them in whichever way. It's just totally increased. Not only that, Doc, the numbers are increased in mental health where people come in just severely psychotic who's never had mental health issues before.
Right. Yes. I hear. I've see that and hear that. And it's what's interesting, and like maybe one of my clients, it won't be them, but it's in their immediate family. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
That someone, had a mental breakdown, ended up in the hospital. They were, and we've got to study it, because obviously it's something. Now it's interesting. With these people, we need to get histories. Did they take new drugs? What environmental situations are they in? Have they been traumatized? But with psychosis, it's the brain malfunction. It's the neurotransmitter malfunction in the brain. Mm-hmm. And what is causing that malfunction? That people are thinking things happened when they didn't, when they are hearing things or seeing things that didn't happen, or believing that things actually occurred that never occurred. Why is those neurotransmitters firing? What it is they fire in regions of the brain, just like it happened. Mm-hmm. Like in the auditory part of the brain, it fires, and people hear stuff, and they'll say, "Did you call me?" "No, I didn't call you." "Someone called my name." They heard it. They heard it here. It wasn't stimulated from here. So those neurotransmitters are malfunctioning. And what is causing that? I mean, it could be such a wide variety of things. And we really need to be studying it and finding a safe place for these people to be while they're maybe they are studied or treated. Mm-hmm. And followed up, and we, so we need treatment, and while we're doing some research of why this has increased. And the other is autism has increased tremendously too.
Yes.
And we need to understand what factors may be causing this to happen in development. And I think we do have some studies of that.
And I see even more people that I work with taking antidepressants and ADHD.
Yeah. ADHD
medications,
patients.
even as adults.
Yeah, adult ADHD. If someone has ADHD, they always have it. Mm-hmm. It's the way the brain is organized. Mm-hmm. Actually, it's not. It's an executive. We kind of misnamed it. We named it before we understood it. It's kind of executive functioning disorder. Mm-hmm. So it's the part of the brain that directs attention mm-hmm. and focus. Like, all right, stop this, put it down. It's too late. Get ready for bed. Don't forget to put the dog out. Go to sleep, because you got to be there tomorrow at 8 o'clock for your test. And no, they're focused on the test. They stay up all night, fall asleep, and miss the test. Okay, because that part of the brain that organizes things and functions, they're capable of hyper-focusing. Actually, ADHD people are brighter than others, and if they get it under control, they can be actually do very, very well. Be very successful. But just a thought about the brain. We are mm-hmm. doing more and more studies on the brain, which is so important. Neuropsych. Georgia State just has a now new doctorate in neuropsych. I think about 8 years, maybe 5 years ago, they started it. And we're really starting to study more and more on the brain and how it is affecting people. And one of the things, the newer findings that keep coming up, is exercise. Exercise, being physically active. We're having studies on dementia, also a lot of brain, because people are living longer and dementia is becoming, an increasing problem for elderly people. And what we know is people that are more physically active, it's a real healing part of the brain. That and good nutrition.
And I think I want to get back to the kids if I can, because we may be running out.
But putting back with what you were saying, if you think about it, when the kids are doing this, mm-hmm. they're not doing this. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Here, let's play ball. Oh, let's go shoot some hoops.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yes.
It's not how our physiology was designed. Our physiology was designed to move, to be active, to be.
Right.
So anyways, but.
To be going out and having dinner together and talk to one another
another.
and getting to know each other.
Yeah.
I think that's such a big deal. But I want to talk about, before we run out of time, the AI situation.
Yeah.
There's now an app the children can have that you can put any question to any subject and it comes up. You know, cheating was different. We at least had to read the information to make the cheat sheet. You know what I'm saying?
People had to write.
But our children don't know how to read. They can't read. And it's almost like, can we have a subject of critical thinking starting in grammar school? Every year we should have a level of critical thinking because they don't have to think anymore.
Right. And the AI will be they'll just program it like they do, push the buttons.
Yes.
You know,
It's destroying lives. I went into the bank on Roswell Road, and the tellers were big like ATM machine. So I started saying, hello, hello. And somebody came from the back, and they said, can I help you? I was like, they don't have tellers anymore? You know, there's nobody here to talk. So the man talked to me, and he said, well, how can I help you? I said, well, I guess I can go over to the machine, but I just think when I come into the bank, someone should be here. So I wanted to have a little conversation and not just go over to this machine. He went over to the machine, and whatever machine he went to do my transaction. But everything is becoming computerized. So where they would have had 3 tellers,
right.
now we don't have that job.
Right, exactly, that you got used to seeing and you had a little conversation with that gave you a sense of community, a sense of connection. Going to the bank was something that you know, something I do, you know, and then you get to know the tellers a little bit, and it makes you feel like you're in a community. But now it's just sticking things in.
Does all of this, it's like social disconnect.
Right. So yes, it's interesting. We have social disconnect and social discord that are kind of reinforcing each other, you know, and maybe seeking out ways to connect, to have empathy, to do things for each other, and not just write a check for a cause that you believe. That's right. You don't. You give your plastic. Right.
You don't even have to talk to the people that send you text. You know, like I told them, don't text me. If you want to say something to me, call me. Even if they text, everything is
a text. Right. Everything is text. Right. And it's again that disconnect. And if you think about it, it's so foreign from how our human being was designed. You know, getting back to being in nature and exercise and movement. 200 years ago, it didn't matter how affluent you were. You had to move. You had to connect with people. You know, you had to get on your horse and go somewhere, and you had to talk to the people in the stable and whatever. You know, we couldn't sit in a room and touch. And so maybe, it's hard to know, but maybe it might be contributing to our mental well-being.
Yeah. And I heard on the news the other day about telling children shouldn't, sending your children, let me make it short in my language, sending your children once out of high school getting a trade, because all of these technical jobs that they go and they get a degree for are a master's degree. They get all of this education, have all the loans, and those are the jobs that's being taken over by machines, by AI.
Yes.
So now you have all of this education, you went all of this way, and you don't.
You may be obsolete.
Right.
You know, I heard one of the law schools has said that they will accept that you can use AI for your law school application. I mean, and I wonder, and then they said, because then what if we find out one of the applicants did? Then are we going to throw them out? So they just said will be acceptable. But Lord, I mean, to write and present your case, if you're going to do it, it's a very complicated. It's very complicated. I really think what needs to happen, and I don't know if it will, but is every discipline, every profession needs to have an AI board and decide how AI could be appropriately applied in their field in a way. Now, the other thing is they were saying AIs could help read mammograms, that they could actually be more proficient in that, but they would need someone to see, oversee it. But now maybe that's an argument for, because of the detailedness with mammograms. There may be appropriate uses for AI, but I think we need strong ethical boards to look at that for every field. Do you know what I'm saying?
I think that's going
for
too
law,
far.
for medicine, you could have an AI therapist that would know exactly what to say to you.
No, that won't
when
go.
something.
Yeah.
But we are getting where we want the right response.
Jesus. I just want to thank you for being here today, Doc. It was a beautiful conversation, and I'm sure that it was a conversation that, when heard, people can begin to think. So I want to thank you for being here today. And is there any last words you want our community, we'll call it a community, our community to know that would help us move forward in humanism,
Okay.
socialism?
I would just recommend really trying to have empathy to people that maybe we disagree with, or we see them doing something that we don't approve of, to try to say, well, let me try to put myself in their place and try to understand where they may be coming from. Just take that moment and also to respond to people that are around us. I think interacting with people that we see every day in a respectful, friendly manner can make all the difference in how people feel about their environment. So those are the two things that leave people.
Thank you so much for being here.
Okay.